Hello, everybody. Oh, don't actually need these today, do I? Put those over there. Right. Let's see. Let me just get rid of myself over there because it's very annoying when I'm looking at myself. Um, Black Magic Society. Hello, hello. Yolandi, Richard, Mimilek, Alexis, and Zanka. Thanks for joining. How has everybody's week been? Oh, my week's been one of those ones again. I've just been sick, but feeling okay now. Ivan, hello. Thanks for joining. Right. Um, I'm not going to do music today. I am trying to see if um, that's what's been affecting my algorithm because my statistics have just dropped, and it's a bit weird. I've been trying to figure out why. I'm not sure. Um, when I do the music, it does say that it's copyright to the people that own the rights to the music, so therefore monetization goes to them, but it does not affect my channel. But um, my statistics are just they've gone crazy. I'm like half the subscribers per month that I was getting. That's just weird. So I'm gonna try no music and see if it actually corrects it. So we'll be doing that for a while. Brigham, hello. Thanks for joining. Saving Sigma. That's okay. Thanks. Um, a better week next week. Bloody well hope so. I'm tired of this now. And it's just been one thing after another, and it's wiped me. It's completely wiped me. But we'll see. All right. Alexis had a pleasant but also productive week. That's good. What about everybody else? Sorry to hear that, Lee. That's fine. Don't worry. I've just got to go through these things every now and then. That's part of the cycles of life and all that stuff. All right, so as I said, no music, which means the silences are going to be a bit awkward because you're not going to have background music to fill in. So better get chatty. If you've got any questions, anything you want to discuss, just let me know. I'm hoping Bobby Mordko pops on because there are some questions in the comments and I haven't gotten around to answering, so we can always answer here. Richard, insane busy work week. Going to get worse before month end. Yeah, that's not fun. Alexis, YouTube likes to shadow ban many spiritual channels when they speak the truth. There is that as well. That's why I've been trying to figure out where it is. There's certain settings that YouTube have all suddenly added in the background without, well, I wasn't aware of them anyway. That have been people have been reporting that it's been affecting the algorithm and everything else. And so I've kind of switched those things off, but so far it doesn't seem to have changed it. It's just getting worse. So I don't know, but we'll see. Yolandi, I'm benching the Discord idea. I can't find people who will admin with me, and I can't be the only admin on an international server. You can always start it, and then just ask people as they come on. You might find that active members have the time to actually be active on the server, and they might be happy to help you with the admin stuff. It's usually the easiest way to find people because then they already have an idea of how active the server is and probably will be. So, there's no way of telling when you start. It could be dead as a doornail, for months and months and months. Um, Alexis, hope you're okay. Richard, Ivan, I've been working on combining the Goetia spirits during invocation. Pro tip, make sure the energies are compatible. Oh yes, that goes with any form of magic. If you're working with anything spirits and well, everything's energy, so doesn't matter what pantheon you're working with, make sure that the spirits are compatible. And even if it is the same pantheon, it doesn't mean that all the spirits actually get along. There's balances and that get put in there. Brigham, I've been wondering about getting close to more than one deuce on at the same time. Would this cause? Uh, so was that a mistype? What would be a dis on? Dis on, dis on, dis on, dis on. Trying to think of what that could have been as a mistype. Just let me know. Just let me know what that is, and then we can chat about that. Alexis, Ivan, good advice about energy compatibility. Daimon. No, you can work with more than one diamond at a time. There's no offense, but coming back to what Ivan was saying, make sure that the energies are compatible. Because if they're not, it's like, mixing two currents together that just conflict. And when you bring them together, it's very difficult for them to work together, let alone you try and work with them. So, try and um, just the easiest thing to do here is to work with one spirit, get to know its energy, then introduce the second spirit and get to know its energy, and then bring them together and see if they combine. Because if you know both energies, you kind of have an idea if they will work together okay. But they're not jealous spirits or anything like that. So yeah. You're thinking of Marbas and Sabnok. Don't see any problems with that. Sabnok's a very protective spirit. Marbas is a healing spirit. I can't think of anything that would cause a conflict there. I actually find that most of the Goetia spirits, because they are kind of like in the same group, they tend to kind of get along. They have their battles every now and again, like families do, really. But they tend to get along quite easily. There's one or two here and there that are a bit uppity, but that's to be expected. Ivan, it takes time. It does, yeah, with anything. Just this is why I prefer to say that I don't like an eclectic approach. I prefer a syncretic approach because the idea of eclecticism is really cherry picking stuff and just like bashing it together without any consideration for what could happen. There's no examination, there's no checking on background and histories and all of this stuff, and actually working with the things you're trying to smash together before you smash them together. And they just take them and just smash them together and hope for the best. Whereas the syncretic approach is more about understanding all of the different energies you're going to be working with, and then slowly bringing them together and see if they combine well or whether there's a problem. So yeah, that can take time. Hedge God, hello, hello. Can you explain how the Solomonic magic works? I mean, invoking Yahweh, who might be an egregore, can actually bind demons who are actual deities. Is there something I'm missing? Uh, I don't like the Solomonic approach because I find it very disrespectful to the spirits you're working with because it comes from that mindset, that worldview that God is the ultimate power and the demons are tools that you can push around and threaten, bind, and everything else. I don't like that approach. I have respect for the spirits that I work with, and therefore I build relationships with them. I don't, trap them in a space and force them to do what I want them to do. Now, but coming back to the Solomonic magic approach, what you're basically doing is you are elevating your vibration and taking on the vibration of a higher being. This is what is considered happens with the Solomonic approach itself. And is it an egregore? Possibly. This is a bit difficult because when you look into the grimoires, if you look at the modern Christian God, definitely I would say is an egregore. If you go further back into the more Jewish aspects of Yahweh, then that's possibly still an egregore, but it is something. I think it's something completely different to the Christian God anyway, and that's kind of like the the spirit that you're connecting with in the grimoires, within the grimoire tradition, I would say, and I don't think all of them, but most of them. Um, So even though it is Christian magic, it is immersed in Jewish mysticism, and therefore it became this Christian Kabbalah, which a lot of people are quite probably rightly saying is appropriative. It was they appropriated Jewish Kabbalah, added Christ into the mix, and created Christian Kabbalah, and then from there came Hermetic Kabbalah, and now we have all these weird developments that we find nowadays. But that's the approach: is to elevate, to call in the powers of Adonai. And that's really what it is Adonai, and elevate your own self, and therefore then you can command the spirits which are beneath you or lower than you, and I find it completely disrespectful. Um, I don't bind the spirits. I did try the Solomonic approach years ago before I knew any better, and it just didn't resonate with me. I couldn't actually do it. I did everything the way I'm supposed to do it, and I just got to the point where I'm like, how am I supposed to bind and command these entities that have been around for thousands of years, and I'm just this puny little human, and it didn't work for me, so I couldn't do it. Which is why I've then found other people talking about other methods, and then Connolly came along with demonolatry and kind of made everything right for a change. But yeah, are you missing anything? No, not really. I think what you might be missing is an exploration of different approaches. Um, that's probably what you might want to explore, unless you want to go the Solomonic route. If your ideology and worldview is revolves around binding and commanding the spirits, then you're gonna want to stick to the Solomonic magic, and then you're gonna have to stick to the written word and how it is presented in the grimoires themselves. But yeah, that's up to you. Yolandi, maybe you have been getting dislikes on YouTube, and this will have a knock-on effect. I'm just trying to remember if I can actually check that. Likes versus dislikes. No, not that many. Most of my videos are 100% likes. So I don't think it's that. Well, it doesn't look like that's changed anyway. Oh, where am I? Brigham, great, thanks. Pleasure. Mimilek. Speaking of Marvas, he fixed more of my blood sugars slowly, slowly. I'm recovering from pre-diabetes state. Great, that's fantastic. Just carry on going. Landy, this is great at Mimilek. Yes, it is. Brigham, that makes sense. Okay, good stuff. Mimilek, and I lost weight. At the start of the year, I had like 110 kilograms, and now it's 105. Excellent. It takes effort, but it pays to cut down on sugars, and I love them. Yeah, if you are um, diabetic, struggling with blood sugar, then weight's often a problem. Very, very difficult. So, congrats. Bavi Mordka, hello. You've got some questions in my comments which I haven't gotten around to doing this week, so if you want me to answer them here, let me know and I'll pull them out. We can have a look at those as well. But you said I need to ask about book Modern Magic by Donald Michael Craig. Is it worth getting involved? Oh yes, absolutely. I heard from one intern that the method and results are poor. No, no. That is probably one of the, if you want to get into ceremonial magic, Golden Dawn style stuff, that, I would say is the best book to start with. It really is. It's an oldie, it's a classic, and it's brilliant. I've actually recommended it on these on the Covenstead before. So yeah, definitely go for it. What if our practice of developing paranormal abilities is blocked by karmic burdens? Can we somehow bypass this by reaching an agreement with a specific deity or demon? And that's a difficult one, because I don't intend to pay off other people's debts, my past incarnations. It is a difficult one because it depends on the debts, on how the karma is going from lifetime to lifetime and how it's affecting you and the communities. That's a huge thing, and it's something you would have to sit down with. If you want to get deities and daemons involved, then you're going to have to speak to them. But I would actually speak to your ancestors in that regard. They're probably the best ones to actually uh, um, get involved with in you know this particular thing. Um, but I'm not sure how it would affect the development of your paranormal abilities. But again, that depends on your personal karmic debt and everything else. Um, so not really something I can answer. Hedgehog, highly disrespectful. I believe this also Solomonic is totally wrong, and maybe this is the reason daemons have bad reputation. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Infuriating a higher being by trying to bind it, probably it's going to backfire. Yep. I mean, it's common sense, which old wizards didn't have in the first place. Well, I don't know about all of them. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's kind of simple math, really. If you bind and threaten a spirit and you trap it and force it to do your will, when it gets loose, it's not going to be very happy, is it? So I wouldn't be. So yeah, and so you get a lot of ceremonial magicians who talk about, they were attacked by the spirit that they summoned and trying to command. Well, yeah, obviously. But then that causes a bad reputation because now all of a sudden the spirits are able to attack you. But if you treat them with respect, they tend to treat you with respect. Like I'm not going to say it's all roses. There are some spirits which are just nasty buggers, and that's just their nature, and it's their nature for a reason. You work with that particular energy and that particular nature for an outcome, and you need that shitty, um, difficult energy and nature in order to achieve your goal. So everything has its place. But yeah, no, if you're gonna trap and bind spirits, usually they're gonna retaliate when they get loose. So that's what happens usually. Furthermore, by the way, my movie recommendation, The Last Shaman. Let me check my list. Do I have it on here? This is such a long list. I'm gonna be doing movie reviews until I'm on my deathbed. Um, okay, it doesn't look like it. I'll put it over here so it's more recent, more coming up sooner because it's requested. Is that 2016? Okay. All right. I got that in. Next month I've got the parenting, which I thought was brilliant. It's a comedy actually, but it's so much closer to the actual idea of what magic is in the actual grimoire itself that they use in there than most others. So I've got Sleepy Hollow down, but I'm not entirely sure. I watched the series, which was quite interesting, but I can't remember the movie. So I'll watch it, see if it's worth it. If not, then I'll do The Last Shaman. Um, Yolandi, people in our community say that angels don't like people, but so does a lot of Jinn. Oh yeah, no, Jinn. There's different groups and classes of Jinn, and you have the Ifrit, which are said to be a bit more conducive to humans, but then you've got the Jinn like the ghouls that they're just around for destruction. That's all. They don't really give a shit about anything or anyone or the planet itself. They're just there for destruction. But there are different classes of Jinn, and some of them hate humans. Some of them want to wipe you off the face of the earth. Others are a bit more friendly, and it's the same with Fae. Fae are exactly the same. There are some Fae which hate humans, and some Fae which are a little bit more accepting. In a lot of cases, it's because they have probably been treated badly over the centuries. So they're a bit they don't trust as easily. And then there are others which are quite happy to interact with humans. So yeah, Jinn and Fae and all such could say chthonic spirits. They're going to have their own classes, and some are good, some are bad, some like you, some don't. But I think angels are very, very different because they're actually celestial beings, and they, as I said, they don't actually have names. They are groups of energies, groups of entities that have specific things, specific jobs, purposes, things that they do in order to keep things going, and whether that's constructive or destructive, you know, we need destruction in order to have construction. So, the idea of a pine forest burning down so that a new one can grow, that type of thing. But, I think they are very different, but you know, as we said, Jin and Fei, not all of them are out to be friendly. Some of them will do a lot of harm, actually. Brigand Mimelek, going through the same thing, but I have other underlying conditions too, which complicate everything a lot. But it's been nice to hear that you have found Marbas helpful. Oh, yeah, Marbas is I just like Marbas. When it comes to a spirit of healing, it's Marbas all the way for me. I love Marbas. Alexis, yeah, Mimlek, it's a tough and hard road, and she helped me with high blood pressure to now already under control without any mishaps. Be of good faith and don't lose heart. Step by step recovery gets closer. I actually need to make this text a bit bigger because it's very small on my screen. That's probably better. And now where am I? Okay, Babi Mordecai, I have the impression that Solomonic magic is typically demanding, Semitic. My motto from a slave, there is no ally. Oh yeah, no, that's a good way of looking at it. The funny thing is, I've seen this discussed by a lot of people who actually do practice Solomonic magic, and they say that they are not disrespectful to the spirits, but I just find the method disrespectful. You it's a bit like um, calling somebody to your house because you need help, and then you force them into this space that confines them because you don't trust them enough to actually allow them to come into your space and help you with the thing that you need help with. So you force them into this little cage and you move them around until they are able to do what you tell them to do. And that in itself, the lack of trust is I find disrespectful. So, anybody who does Solomonic magic, buy the book. I'm sorry, it's disrespectful in my regards. Um, Richard, some demons are just spiteful because they can be, but in a fun way, in my experience. Yeah, yeah. Hedge God's spiteful. Can you elaborate? Let's just see if Richard did. At Hedgecod, one asked me to work with them for a friend, but just to be spiteful, burned me with the candle I summoned them with, just for the laughs. They can be like that. And also, you said not enough to leave a blister, but hot enough to remember it, but the message was there. I've worked with, I worked with Horus very early on, and I will never work with Horus again. Um, it was a horrible energy. I mean, I used, I called Horus for working a curse. So, this is why I say they all have their own natures, and there's a reason for having those natures, and they're not all going to be nice and fluffy and everything else. Some of them have really, really horrible natures because that's their office. That's what they're supposed to be doing. Um, and that's the reason for being. And so they're not all going to be friendly and nice. Um, dup, 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 dup. Ivan, I'm slowly introducing Latin and Hebrew into my invocations. I think it's a very powerful combination. The Hebrew letters are numbers to its like speaking in two languages at the same time. Yeah, no, I mean, if you study Hebrew, it's going to be one of those things you go down rabbit hole after rabbit hole, especially when you start introducing gematria and is it Timuria? Forget the name. And how not just different words calculate or come to the same um, 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 number, and therefore they have a relation, but how in a passage, how the words and the letters actually start combining and changing, and how the 72 names of God was created, was formed from one passage. No, sorry, three lines in the Bible. And how the letters were pulled out in order to create the 72 names of God, and all of this stuff. It's fascinating. It's a huge, huge study. But if you can learn the languages, absolutely go for it because Hebrew itself is very powerful, very potent, very much like Sanskrit. Really, it's the Hebrew letters actually have. I don't want to use that name angels anymore. When I'm talking about Hebrew stuff, I'm going to refer to the Magadim. Magadim is similar. Yeah, there's just so many different classes of these things. It's difficult to actually put a broad name to everything. But yeah, so yeah, huge, massive topic. Um, I've read that one. Bavin Vodka. I wonder why people prefer using Hebrew and magic instead of Sanskrit, a much older and more magical language. Poor promotion of another reason. It's mostly because of Hermetic Kabbalah. Hermetic Kabbalah became extremely prominent in Western magic, a lot more so than Sanskrit, and a lot earlier. I mean, Sanskrit in the Western world was probably only really discovered a long time after Hermeticism was discovered, and Hebrew formed part of that because you had the Hebrew Kabbalah, which became, or not became, but Christian Kabbalah came out of that because the Christians saw how well it actually kind of described the cosmos, described the universe, and so they kind of like pulled it out and messed it, took it to pieces and put all other bits and bobs in and called it Christian Kabbalah, and then that became Hermetic Kabbalah because Christian Kabbalah is kind of like the the ideology, the belief in a system, whereas the Hermetic Kabbalah became more of the practical aspect. The cerebral, that's the word I was looking for. It's Christian Kabbalah was more cerebral. Hermetic Kabbalah became more practical. But that's probably why there's there's a leaning towards Hebrew rather than Sanskrit because and Sanskrit's very, very difficult. I mean, Hebrew's difficult, but Sanskrit, oh my word. Um, God. And I'm terrible with languages. I tried Hebrew and I tried Latin and I tried Greek and I'm absolutely awful with languages. I just can't pick them up. But you know, I think over the years you kind of get used to particular letters and phrases and stuff like that, so they become common. But trying to speak it, or read it, oh my goodness, no. So I envy anybody who can do it. Um, I just got a Richard. Burned you mean like for a millisecond? Was it a Goetia demon? Yolandi, I think it will be faster to name the demons you don't work with, Lee. No, no, not at all. It would be faster to name the demons I do work with. There's thousands and thousands of spirits that I don't work with. Thousands. So yeah. Um, Richard and Hedge God not enough to. Oh, I've read that already. Landy, I'm sorry, but if you trap me, I'm not going to be happy and will lash out. Absolutely. Yeah, that's what happens. Ivan, these energies are in some cases very ancient and powerful archetypes. For example, there is a big difference between Gremory and Andras. Sometimes I am very scared of him, but he has shown me a lot. Yeah, yeah. And I think this is something we all need to examine for ourselves. It's not something that any one person can say this is the truth, this is the absolute truth. Is what are these spirits that we are working with? And I'm going to just refer specifically to the Galatia. What are these spirits? In the according to King Solomon, they were jinn. When he worked with them. But I mean, if you look at the Galatia is a compilation of three or four different older grimoires, and the names just the names were came about by not King Solomon, but by somebody else who was working their own system. This is their grimoire that they created when they were, talking to the spirits, and these are the names that they came along with. And they probably worked with three or four different grimoires in order to create their own grimoire. And this is where all of this stuff comes from. So, are these spirits the original spirits that King Solomon worked with? No, probably not. Are they Jinn? Quite possibly, but possibly not. Are they egregores? Quite possibly. And these are the questions you need to examine for yourself. And as I said, nobody can actually really tell you this is right or that's right. Um, you know, so are they the original spirits that King Solomon worked with, or are they spirits that this person who we don't know the name of created a grimoire for because it was their system and their magic, and those are the names they were given by the spirits, or are they the original Jinn spirits that have developed over? thousands, or not thousands, but hundreds of years, and have now become egregores, completely different entities to what the original grimoire or grimoire maker was actually working with. So it's very difficult, very difficult. Got to decide that for yourself. Anyway, Andrea, hello, and hello to Alistair. Thanks for joining. Hedgehog demons work with every individual differently, right? I mean, Horus maybe can be malevolent to you, but benevolent to me. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That is a possibility, and it's it's like meeting two people meeting the same person. One person might get along with them, the other person might not get along with them. So yeah, if I call, um, let's say Barbatos, I get along with Barbatos, but somebody else might not get along with Barbatos, because their natures just don't mix. And this is why, coming back to the statements that were made earlier about introducing more than one demon into, working with more than one demon at a time. It's not just the energies of the demons you have to consider, it's also, do they work with your energy? Is there a synthesis? Is there a bond that can be created? And sometimes there's a clash. Sometimes you want to work with a spirit and you just can't because you're not supposed to work with them, or your energies just don't go well with that particular spirit. And it's quite possible that will happen. Um, Hedge God, I'm actually Greek. Ellis. Greek Ellis? What's Greek Ellis? Hellas. Oh, no, right. Oh, okay, that's interesting. So Hellas is the Greek name for Greece, or Hellas, which is where we get Helena's from. Whatever. Yeah, that thing. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't actually know that. Thanks for letting me know. Excuse me. I've got a frog in my throat. Um, Heavy Mortar, Heavy Mortar. But can we trust medieval grimoires if most of them were written by priests? Depends what system you're working. As I said, if you are going to want to work a Solomonic system, you're going to have to follow it by the book. And then you're going to have to trust the grimoire itself. If you can't trust the grimoire, then don't work that system. Really as simple as that. Um, But at the same time, these particular magicians worked with these spirits, and therefore you can, in many regards, use the grimoires as kind of directories. Now, I will say, if you work with the concept or the principle behind like the Grimorium Verum, that's a very different approach. That's pact making. And as far as I remember, there's no actual circle casting, there's no triangle of art, there's no trapping, binding, or anything like that involved in the Grimorium Verum. It's about making a pact with the spirit, and there's specific rules and ways you go about it. You call Skirlin first. Skirlin is the gatekeeper. So once you've called Skirlin, you open the gate, and then you call one of the principal demons, and that would be Lucifer, Beelzebub, or is it Asmodeus? Sure, it's Asmodeus. I think it's Asmodeus. Can't remember. Anyway, one of the three. Under the three, you then have the various different spirits. But I wouldn't, a lot of people kind of take this as being like this power hierarchy thing. These spirits answer to whatever. But it's more a case of kind of opening the gate with Skirlin, so you have access, then getting into contact with one of the three, which is a particular form of energy, and then you can then contact the spirit you actually want to work with for whatever reason. So there's like a progression, a layering that starts to happen, but it's totally different to the glacier, and I like that approach myself. It's an approach that I take myself, and because it's more of a relationship building thing in my eyes. Maybe other people read it and see it completely different. I don't know, but yeah. Belen, hello Belen. Hail to Lord Andros. Um, Roop, hello Roop. I still don't know how to pronounce your name. It's been a long time and I still don't know. You'll have to tell me one day. I've been using subliminal recordings with binaural beats and affirmations for programming my subconscious to support my magic. Have you ever used such audios yourself? If yes, what was your experience? I don't use it a lot myself. I do often I use a pure tone 7 hertz and sometimes a 4 hertz that I've created myself. It's very easy to create in Audacity actually. Um, but I actually created it because you've probably heard of, let me get names right. It's called HemiSync. It's a particular trademarked product, but it was created by the Monroe Institute, and Monroe Institute was started by Robert Monroe, who did all the books about astral projection, out of body experiences, all of that stuff. And um, the HemiSync stuff actually, apart from the actual uh, talking part of it, the guided meditation part of it, it does a 4 hertz beat, binaural beat, in between the hemispheres of the brain. And I actually created it, and I find them very useful. And what I actually love doing is I usually use the 7 hertz more than the 4 hertz. It puts me into a bit of a better trance state in order to do journey work. But the one thing I love doing is because just to for the mechanics of it. So you've got like 100 hertz in the one ear and 107 hertz in the other ear, which creates um, when it hits the middle, it creates this vibration, which is a 7 hertz binaural beat, and it does it creates this vibration. And if you got your headphones on and you're listening to it, and then you actually vibrate a god name or something, it sounds so cool. It's like I can't even explain it. You have to do it yourself so you can hear it, but verbally vibrate this name of power or something like that while you've got your headphones on. It's brilliant. It's just it's really cool. But anyway, yeah. But no, I don't. Yeah, that's what I use. I know some people that do use a lot of binaural beats for a lot of different reasons and purposes, and they're very useful. So yeah, if you're finding that you're getting results, then carry on. They're really, really good. Um, Belen, do you have any thoughts about the supposed rivalry between King Beleth and President Garp? I don't actually. I did see a comment on one of my videos. It was probably you asked. I haven't come across it, so I haven't. Before reading the comment, I wasn't aware of it. So I have no idea what that's about. I don't know if somebody just created it. I don't know. I really don't know. Really don't know. User, hello user. What demon teaches self-transformation so you can have qualities like courage or bravery or change aspects of yourself? I actually was doing some more of transcriptions of Lever Daemon this weekend. What am I doing here? And I'm sure I came across one that was exactly for that. Let me just check. I've done so many this weekend, though I might not get the right one. Memory. I'm was necromancy. Yeah, I'm probably gonna not find it now because I've got to go through all of these to try and remember which one it was. Just see if I can pick it up from these. No, it wasn't that one either. Try that grimoire. No, it's not that one either. No. Oh, sorry, I can't actually find it. I tell you what, go on to. I'll put the link in here now. Go on to Liber Daemon. There's a search bar there. You can start searching different things, and you might come up with a result. And if I do come across it again, I'll note it down and just mention it next week. Here's the link to Liber Daemon. Just have a look through there. I've still got about 15 of the Glacier Spirits to go until that's complete, but I'm actually trying to get that finished this week, so that should be done then. Anyway, if I get a break just now, I'll have a look again. Well, I've lost it now. Oh, here we go. Berlin. Aren't the three main deities in the... Oh, Astaroth. That's the one, yes. Sorry. I knew it was an A. Couldn't remember. Yeah, there's the three principal spirits. User... Oh, here we go. User Zagan, Hargenti... What was that the one? Hang on, I'll check now. Hargenti, Astaroth, Asmodeus, although all the Goetic kings could probably help with it, yeah. Maybe that was the one. Let me just check Hargenti because I added that yesterday. Yeah, Connolly says interprets Hargenti as a force of transformation, able to take what is ordinary or negative and change it into something extraordinary. In her words, if life gives you lemons, make lemonade. Wasn't that one though? It was another one. But Argenti is very much about spiritual alchemy, so it might be definitely worth having a look at. But yeah, let me go back to that later if I can. All right, user, is this internal transformation that they help with? Yeah, it's yeah. Balaam said, especially Zagan and Hargenti, they are spirits of alchemy. Okay, yeah, there you go. All right, good stuff. Thanks, Balaam. Andrea, I'll have to try that. Lee. I like resonating energy and sounds. Oh yeah, no, it's lovely. It really is. You get that vibration going with the 7 hertz, and it just you start vibrating verbally. It's just brilliant. Oh yeah, it was probably me. Babin Walker, the Book of Ceremonial Magic after you wait is better than Grimorium Verum. I never liked that book myself. A really good one to actually read is The True Grimoire by Jake Stratton Kent. That's a really good book because he doesn't just examine the Grimorian Verum, but he does bring a lot of that, the pack making and stuff in. But he also brings in a lot of stuff from other grimoires. And it's a brilliant book. Love that book. Andrew, I'll be right back. Just need a couple. Okay. Oh, I've got a chance now. Let's just have a look. I can do a search. Memory. Oribas. Carry on putting stuff in the chat. Don't worry about me. Just I'm trying to find something that I read earlier. Not that one I was thinking of either. I don't bloody remember. No. I don't know. I'll have to try and figure it out. Anyway. Right, it's all gone quiet now. Am I still streaming? Yeah, looks like it. Babi Mordka, do you mind if I read your comments that I have not replied to on the posts on the videos? Well, your latest one was what kind of dangers can we expect from them, the demons? I think we've discussed all of that today. They're just some of them are just not very friendly. Why is the chat so quiet? I feel like I'm not streaming anymore and I don't know it. I'm still streaming. Okay, all right. What happened to friggin' jumped again? Waiting for other people to post. Okay, there we go. What is going on? Curse of silence. I don't know. Yeah, but just Baby Mordka, just let me know if I can read that comment that you made on spirits don't do the work for you, because it was quite interesting observation. The wizard then did reply to you, and with a very satisfactory response. So, yeah. Ivan, I find that if your karma is good and you invoke them with respect and blood, the interactions go smoother, but even with that, be careful with Andras. He is vicious. Yeah, yeah, no, there's a lot of them. It's not just Andras. I place horrors into that realm. A lot of other people like working with horrors. So, Brigham, I can hear you. Very interesting. Okay, good stuff. As long as you can hear me. I hate it when I'm not streaming anymore. I'm frozen or something, and I'm just like chatting away and everything, thinking everybody can actually hear me. You know. You can hear me fine. Okay, no problem. All right, so everybody finished with their questions. I'm going to very quickly just put you on pause. I need to just go and blow the schnozzle. But carry on. Put stuff in the chat. I'll be back in a jiffy. I won't be very long. So I'll come back now. But I'll be put this screen on. Right. Oh, where did I put the chat now? There we go. Ivan said another thing. I'm not sure what the other thing was though. Oh, there we go. I'll get to that now then. Blame it, Ivan. I'm just respectful, and everything has gone fine with me with Andros, but Andros called out to me though. Yolandi, do you know Frater Setnak? I do. Yeah. Well, I don't know him personally, but I remember him from the good old days. Just stumbled onto his website. Actually, I've have seen him posting a lot of interesting stuff on Instagram, but I haven't checked out his site. But yeah, always had some interesting stuff. Oh yeah, he's the one who's doing the tarot coins. They're really cool. He was always into a lot of stuff. Can't remember his background though. I'm sure it was no, it wasn't Golden Dawn. Small Oren Leech, but yeah, can't remember his background. Wait, let me try about. Maybe that'll tell me. There we go. Yeah, it just says devoted practitioner of broadly understood magic, bringing over 35 years of expertise in the realm of esoteric knowledge. Gnostic, Rosicrucian, Hermetic arts, Kabbalah, alchemy, and chaos magic. Yeah, no. I thought you might have an affiliation to Golden Dawn, but as I said, I think that's more Oren Leech I'm thinking of. Yeah. No, interesting guy. Really was. Always has been. All right, Ivan. I only work with spirits who call me or I am directed by Lucifer because he serves kind of like introductions to the Goetia pantheon. Then there is a Maimon who gives you authority, but it takes time. Yeah, that's a good approach. I think a lot of people kind of like decide they want to work with a particular spirit and they try to force it, and it's no good trying to force it sometimes. So if you've been directed to them, much better. Belem at Ivan, it is interesting that you say this. King Maimon has started to interest me a lot. Ivan, if they call upon you, then you must answer. Consider it a sign of great things to come, and they favoring you. I would actually prefer to say you have a choice you don't have to answer. There's no must. You don't have to do anything. But I think I get what you're saying though. True. Yep. All right. It's ultimately up to you. Yeah. Sometimes, these spirits can be real arseholes, and one might be calling that you just really don't want to work with. It becomes your choice. You get to decide who you want to work with. All right, it's quiet again. Do you think I'm going to do a short one today? I'm still recovering, so early to bed for me. Ivan, sometimes you get really lucky and spirits actually fall in love with you, like me and Tree. That energy is amazing, especially calling through mirrors. You do. I mean, some of the spirits, you kind of work with them, and once the thing's done, and that's it. But others, I mean, I don't work with Oribus anymore, but I did years ago. I think probably no, it was Horus. I don't know. Maybe it's Oribus, the first spirit of the Goetia I actually worked with, and there was just such a bond and connection that was created. He's kind of always been around, never kind of left. Um, but I don't don't work with him anymore. But he's always there. So yeah, I get that. There's just some spirits you create a stronger bond with than other spirits. Um, Balem, Prince Citri is awesome. I don't work with him actively that much now, though. Yeah, the same here. I don't really have a reason to work with Citri. If it comes to sex magic, I actually prefer working with Aim, fiery energy. Yes, very good. Bevan Walker, strawberries are the best for a runny nose and orgasm. Okay. I just got a picture of having an orgasm with a runny nose. That's quite gross, but anyway. That's what doctors say. This is not my nose. Okay. I don't actually have a runny nose. That's the problem. It's all bunged up in my sinuses. But getting there, getting better. Andrea back. Sorry, I was listening, but had to pick lemon balm. Cool, cool. Always good to pick the lemon balm. Yeah, if you got a really runny nose, an orgasm might not be a good idea. Unless you got a big tissue in front of your nose. Ejaculations of many kinds. Yeah. Ivan, I'll get some strawberries at the market today. You in advance. There you go. Apparently, if they're chocolate coated strawberries as well, that's also it helps with the orgasm aspects. Cthulhu, hello Cthulhu. Can you become so entangled in the spirit's energy that people will feel it or change the environment around you? It's possible, but what you'll probably find is that your nature just changes and people notice that. I don't think it, yeah, well, uh, it can change the environment around you. I mean, that's really magic, isn't it? It's changing your circumstances through will, and that's done through altering the vibrational state of yourself so that resonates outwards. Um, so yeah, you can. I would say yes. But usually what happens is people just notice a difference. It's a bit like opening the gates of the Sephira on Tree of Life. You kind of like if you open Gevura, you're going to all of a sudden appear very abrasive towards people. Very argumentative, and they're probably not going to like you very much. Whereas if you then go and open Tiferet, which is beauty, all of a sudden everybody likes you. You can crack the worst joke in the world and everybody will laugh, type of thing. So it's that kind of thing. You kind of your own frequency changes because you resonate with the spirit that you're working with, and this is all comes into things like bhakti yoga, where you're doing devotional work on a constant basis with one spirit, and therefore, because you've got that particular frequency around you all the time, your own frequency starts to resonate at that vibration or at that pitch, and therefore you change, and everybody experiences you differently. Um, I mean, we could extend this into not working with spirits, and into like the Toltec idea of the assemblage point, where if you shift your assemblage point, you might not shift into another like alternative reality, but you shift into a different state. You experience the world differently, and everybody experiences you differently. It's a very similar type of thing, but it's because you've changed your vibrational state. So I think that's really what's happening there. You rinse your sinus with water and salt. Make sure it's boiled water that cooled down. I'll just blow my nose. I can't do that. I've tried with the neti pot and stuff like that. Just terrifies me. Wear a mask. Yeah, I probably should. I'm over it. I'm not contagious. Let's put it that way. Sorry, excuse me. Roop, I've just started connecting more with my ancestors, and it seems they're coming through quite damn strong. Wasn't expecting it to be this powerful. Oh yeah, no, it's ancestor work is amazing. You know, if you want, I believe if you want to do spirit work, start with the ancestors. It's the best place to start. It absolutely is. Because they love you. They're your family. They're your loved ones. They're not going to steer you wrong and things like that. And then once you've made those connections, when you do start working with other spirits, you just call on the ancestors and say, "Is this one okay? Is that one really the spirit that I was calling?" Use it for discernment purposes. They're brilliant for that. And call them, and they'll protect you. So yeah, no, ancestors are brilliant. So congrats on that. Brigham, you could put a strawberry up each nostril to stop the flow. That could work. Could work. Yeah. Um, ancestor work is very powerful. Congrats. It means that you are healing very quickly. Mm. Clearly, thank you, sir. It's a pleasure, absolute pleasure. Yolandi, strawberries dipped in dark chocolate is an aphrodisiac. Wouldn't do it with a runny nose. Yes, yeah, yeah. Explosions of many kinds. Andrea at Root, my nan's very strongly attached to me. Ancestor work is deep. Yeah. Root at Ivan, thanks, man. Definitely feels like there's a lot of healing coming my way. Um, go for it. That's why you heal. Yep, absolutely. Yeah. No, the ancestors are just really amazing. Andrew, I just made slow gin with for Nan, of course. Cool. What's slow gin again? That's elderberries, isn't it? I'm sure it's elderberries. Made with gin and blackthorn fruit. I thought it was elderberries. I don't think it was elderberries. Huh. I must have been thinking of something else then with the elderberries. I remember I was going to make some kind of drink, but I can't get them fresh here. I only get dried elderberries. Blackthorn is slows, but we've got a lot of elderberries also. Bumper year. Yeah. What was it that you make elderberry wine or something? I can't remember now. Yeah, a lot of these uh, um, trees and shrubs and bushes and stuff can't get here. No, blackthorn doesn't grow here. I don't think elderberry does either. No? Yes, no, it does. I think it does. Hang on. I'm gonna have to check that. Elderberry. Hang on. It can be grown in South Africa for its culinary uses. Yeah, I don't think it's not a European elder anyway. It's not a common um, tree. Blackthorn, definitely not. We have to kind of try and find an equivalent. I'm still not sure of. Um, Andrea, elderberries are great for syrup and wine. Great for colds and flu. Yeah. I'm making mead. Just a straightforward. Just adding honey, water, apple juice. Just a straightforward. I can't remember what it's called now. Right. Mead with apple juice is called. It's not a methiglen, that's the herbs one. Oh, yeah, Sizer. There you go. So it's just a simple, straightforward Sizer, and I've made it the hillbilly way. I was reading uh, it's Alaric Albertson's book. I'll get the title now. And she's got a recipe in there for hillbilly mead. It's brilliant. It's called hillbilly mead because you don't get all the fancy stuff. You just kind of like put all the stuff, all the ingredients together, put it in a bottle, and then pierce three holes in a balloon and put the balloon over the top and just leave it. Um, so none of all the fancy stuff. So I decided to make that. But it's looking good. I've still got about 3 weeks before I'm gonna bottle it, but it's looking good at the moment. What was I looking for now? Oh, Alaric Albertson book. Book. It is called Travels Through Middle Earth. There we go. I'm actually gonna. You also, I also read Saxon Sorcery and Magic, which I'm going to actually review at the end of this month because that was also really good. Um, right, where am I now? Ivan, thank you for the work you have done with the videos discussing all the Goetic or Goetia demons. I often review them to make sure my offerings are correct. Absolutely, no, great stuff. Um, I'm glad it was helpful and useful. Um, Go to Liber Daemon though, because I'm kind of taking all of those and I've been transcribing them across to text. So hopefully that becomes more searchable, and they're all in one place. The link, I did put the link in the chat earlier, but if you go to my website, you'll also find it in the menu there. Andrea, a last year, I had to be careful not to pick too many. Need not greed. Oh well, mead. Yeah, sometimes you've got to make sure you don't over harvest during certain years. But then mead would probably be a good offering if you work with any Norse gods. Yes. Well, this is why I'm exploring my Anglo-Saxon roots. So that's why I've decided to make the mead so I can give it as offerings because it's going to be easier as well because what I tend to do is I don't drink much. I do drink, but I just don't drink. So I kind of like get a bottle of wine. I do an offering, like half a glass of wine, and then I've got a whole bottle that sits there for a month or so, and it's just a waste of money and alcohol. So the mead can sit for a year or 2 years without it going off, if it doesn't go off at the beginning. But yeah, so it's just going to be easier. Bobby Mordka, do you know the Beatles' hidden message? Strawberry Fields Forever, Strauss bury him forever, but Paul was buried. There was an interesting promotional campaign with hidden evidence of Paul's death. I haven't really gone into it much. I mean, I remember Strawberry Fields Forever was about what's it called? When you shoot up, you get the strawberry fields on your arms or wherever you're shooting up. They did a lot. There was like the Yellow Submarine was about summer as a drug. Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds is LSD. They did a lot of those. The Beatles were quite fun in that regard. Um, but Andrea Hillbilly Mead sounds awesome. Yeah, well, it's just easy. You don't have to go spend like loads and loads of money on equipment. So I'm enjoying it. We're going to have a major problem with ancestor work because there are a lot of narcissists in my family who absolutely want to do me wrong just because that is what they do, puts me off, then they're not part of your ancestors. It's really as simple as that. It's not a problem at all. Really isn't. If you have people in your family that you hated, that you did not like, were narcissists, were bigots, racist, whatever, they just don't become part of your ancestors. You decide who you want to who you want to actually deal with in that regard, and it doesn't even need to be blood relatives. Your ancestors are not just blood relatives. Your ancestors are your family. And family is not about blood relation. Family is about the people who loved you in life, who taught you, who you loved in life. And those are the people that become your ancestors. And they can be your teachers. I include pets. My pets are my ancestors. Um, but it's not just blood relatives at all. Don't think a lot of people have come up with the same thing is that they have a problem with doing ancestor work because they have all these horrible people in their life. I mean, if we consider it only to be blood relations, then somebody who has been adopted and has no idea who their parents were is going to have a huge problem. But they don't because their adopted family becomes their family. And all of the people that love them in life, their teachers, their mentors, um, their extended family, their friends who have passed on, and all of these people. So it's not a problem. Just don't include them. It's really as simple as that. It's not a difficult thing. Um, Yolandi, I can send you recipes for ginger beer and pineapple beer. I think beer is a bit more difficult. I can't remember now. I used to do all this stuff years ago, but I used to just stick to mead because beer became a little bit more difficult because it was hops and things like that you had to add, but there was specific. It wasn't just the specific yeasts. There was something else. I can't remember what it is now, but they were a bit more difficult. Mead's just easy, easy peasy. But I'll have to see how it tastes first before I can actually say that, I suppose. Yeah. Um, but I do have a ton of recipes though. I've like collected them over the years. I was actually going through my old journals and I, in a couple places I've actually noted down the mead recipes I was using, which is very handy. Um, Andrea Bobimorka, I noticed Paul's eye color changed. Strange days indeed. I don't know anything about that. I didn't really follow them that intently. Um, Bobby Mortimer Malicious Ancestors. That's why I have a problem with this, with ancestor work. Well, as I said, you just don't include them in your ancestors. Yeah, sure, okay, there are going to be things that you might need to face that your ancestors kind of passed along. Um, that stuff you go through the process and you heal it and then it's done. You know. But you don't include the ancestors that you do not want to work with. Really, really that simple. They have no say at all. And I found that people who have died, who were difficult in life, and I didn't want to know them anymore. They've come to me and say, "Can I be part of your ancestors, part of your ancestor lineage?" And I say no. And they're quite understanding. It's like whole different attitude when they die. But still not going to include them because I, you know, just didn't like them in life. Um, Andrea at Brigand Free, just be careful who you choose to work with. Yeah. Um, I could make elderberry wine or syrup and send it to you if you like. I wouldn't even. I don't try and send me stuff through. It's South Africa is just it's one of the most difficult countries to try and mail stuff to. Through couriers, and if it goes into the postal system, that's gone. You can say goodbye to it. I said, yeah, no, don't do that. Rather keep it yourself. You go and drink it. There you go. I can get hold of elderberry, dried elderberries, but as far as I understand, they don't really work as well as fresh elderberries. But that's okay. I've got my mead. We're good. I remember you have high-level ancestors in other worlds, in other dimensions, Pleiadians, Orions. You are a part of the astral community. We are never alone. There is that. It's not part of my worldview, but if it's part of your worldview, that's perfectly fine. Yolandi, we use everyday yeast that you use, but yeah, I use that in my meat stuff, just the baking yeast. It's getting all the champagne yeasts and stuff. They actually do make the stuff taste better, but there was something else, I can't even remember what it was, but anyway. Andrea Ivan, ain't that true? My nan is such a gossip. Fat Muppet, hello, hello. Are you a dark priest of talking law? No. Um, but yeah, actually, interestingly enough, I've been going down the road of the Anglo-Saxon law again. There's so much that Tolkien actually included in his books from the Anglo-Saxons. I mean, the Ents, um, they're just the giants, um, and all of the various spirits and stuff. So it's actually really interesting to do comparisons with Tolkien's work in the Anglo-Saxons. Um, Even the language, I believe a lot of it actually came from Old English. So yeah. Anyway, Root, what about having mixed emotions about an ancestor? My late grandpa struggled a lot with alcoholism and was violent at times. I still see a lot of good in that dude. Then, if you are happy, I mean, one of my grandfathers was the same, but I can't speak to him, so I don't even know his name because he was such a horrible person that my father refused to talk about him. He spoke about him once in my entire lifetime. Spoke about him once, mentioned him once. Um, so. But if you knew him, he's not. I think we can probably say he's not an alcoholic anymore because he's dead. He is passed over. So probably not an alcoholic anymore. So you probably find that he's a very different person in the other world, in the underworld, um, whatever terminology you personally use. So if you knew him in life, if you got along with him, even though he sometimes got violent, talk to him, see what he's like now. Probably a very different person, and then go from there. You know, you don't have to make a decision and stick to it. You can change your mind later. Nothing wrong with that. Ivan, if you have ancestors like mine who have done great wrongs to me, if you give them offerings and they don't deserve it, they are really grateful and bless you more. That's an interesting perspective and viewpoint, one I haven't actually come across. Yeah, that's interesting. Brigham, they did show up when I was talking about spirits, even though I made it clear they were not wanted. They continue to intrude. They don't need to be invited, they intrude. Then you banish, you get rid of them. Um, if they continue to intrude, it's because you're allowing them to. Stop, just put your foot down and say no more. Don't allow it. It really is not that difficult. It's just put your foot down. This is what I want in my life. You are not invited to the party, so piss off and stay away. I do not want you around my space. And you banish them, you get rid of them. And that's it. But you got to put your foot down. Um, Mordka, yes, I may not want malicious ancestors, but will they respect my will and not interfere if they are malicious? Yeah, as I said, you put your bloody foot down. You know, you decide what's happening in your life, nobody else. It's your life, you know. Um, James, hello, James. What have you seen specifically manifest into reality post rituals offerings? Oh, goodness. People ask these questions. It's a bit like, what do you want for your birthday? And people ask you, you can't remember what the hell you wanted. Um, Quite often the things that actually manifest are progressive. So, I mean, I think probably the most obvious apparent thing was when I was getting divorced. I needed a sudden boost in income because I had to go through divorce process. I had to basically come up with two salaries all of a sudden. Um, and so the work I specifically did work in that regard, and for the next 6 months, I got the income that I needed. And then after it was all done, that was it. Everything went back to what it was before. So, I often see it in that regard that um, I might be financially strapped for a period of time, but somehow things come along and I kind of make it through without any problem, you know. Um, and sometimes it's at like the last, the 12th hour type thing, all of a sudden it comes through. So I do see that quite a lot. Trying to think of other things that might be apparent. Um, it's difficult to think of. Yeah, can't really think of anything specific anyway. Um, Brigham just wrote there, I did cleanse, always do. That actually is something I do notice, like immediate. If I do a cleansing rite or I do like a spiritual bath or something like that, I notice the physical change immediately. Also, if I do qigong, I notice the change again. It's quite apparent actually. So those type of things also. Trinity Babylon, hello, hello. Actually caught one of the lives. Yeah, good stuff. Um, I'm not sure I'll be on for too much longer. I'm still recovering from whatever I had last week, so gonna go off soon and go to bed, I think. Um, Andrea, with BA, you've got to piddle about with fizziness, etc. Perhaps that's why it's more difficult. It might have been something like that. I really can't remember. I remember I had to get very specific equipment, which was over and above what I needed for the mead. And I can't be bothered to get all the bloody equipment, all the fancy stuff. I'd rather do my hillbilly mead. Much easier. Um, Tolu, is it possible to take on too much energy? Should you just work with one demon at a time? You can, I mean, you'll find that if you do energy raising during ritual or spell working or something like that, you'll probably start buzzing, and even afterwards, after you've closed everything, after you've done everything, you are bouncing off the walls. And this is why we do grounding and centering. Um, After you do grounding and centering when you start the ritual, you do grounding and central afterwards, and the afterwards is usually to kind of smooth that energy out and get rid of any excess energies, like push it into the earth type of thing. So yeah, you can have, you definitely have too much energy. You can also displace your energy. I did that once. I was experimenting with the circle creation where you extend your hands into your eighth chakra and you kind of like pull it open, and it creates this sphere around you, which is like a protective space. And I forgot to close it after doing the ritual, And I just like walked out, and I was walking around. I was literally walking into walls because my energy was so displaced that I actually couldn't actually walk straight. And then I remembered, oh, I forgot to close the circle. So I went back and I closed the circle, and it was fine after that. So yeah, no, that's it's an interesting thing. I've also trapped. Um, the only way I can put it is trapped the season in a circle. It was years ago. I went to a park that used to be down the road from me where I lived at the time, and it was coming out. It was at the end of winter, so the grass wasn't green. It was still very everything was still very brown, and I cast a circle. This was a very neo-pagan, neo-Wiccan style circle. I cast a circle in the space, and then I wanted this to be a permanent space for me and just for me to work in. So I didn't take it down. I cut a door and I left. And I worked in it once or twice, and then I think we moved. But years later, I went back and I remembered the spot, and I went to the spot, and now it was like spring, summertime, so everything was green, and there was just this circle under this tree that was just brown. It's the weirdest thing ever. So yeah, I kind of corrected that. I don't know. I haven't been again since then, so I don't know what it's like. But it was just really strange. So energy is a very interesting thing to manipulate and work with. Anyway, Barry Mordka, Revocation, the Grip Titans official music video of my ancestors. Okay, I'll have to go listen to it afterwards. Oh yeah, sorry, I decided not to do the music anymore. Well, for a period. I'm trying to see if it actually affects the algorithm and stuff because my statistics have just dropped drastically, and it's the weirdest thing. I would think that they would be going up at this point, but all of a sudden it's just like just dropped, gone crazy. So I want to see if it's got to do with the music that I play in the background during these Covenstead lives. So we're not going to have music for a while. I do apologize. Um, Andrea Brigham, that's why clearing your space is important. Lee's telling you that. Oh, okay, there we go. Brigham, I did cleanse, always do. Cleansing work's very important. It really is. All of those kind of like, it's foundational stuff. The cleansing, the warding and protection, the grounding and centering, all of these things are they're important, and I think a lot of people actually just kind of completely skip it as and think, it's these basic things that we do. I don't need to do it anymore because I've been practicing for so long. Oh no, you do, you do. You definitely still have to do it. Or people don't know because they get thrown into magic, where just all of a sudden you call the spirits and that's it. But they kind of like haven't been exposed to any of the foundational work, which is really, really bad. So stick to the foundations. Make sure you've got your foundations, or you're going to have a very rocky house. Cthulhu like Sonic Boom. I'm here all day. Twice on Sundays. Yeah. Briggan, I may have to do a major banishing of each one of them separately just to get rid of. All you have to do is just kind of put up a wall. Just create a door, close it, and say no more. It's really shutting them out, stopping them, putting your foot down. That's really what it's about. Andrea, my mother is a terrible bigot. She does sometimes try to have a go at me. I have to be careful not to allow her to affect me energetically. Yeah, no, just keep them away. Big and I must take up that qigong. I actually got videos of it, but never got found to doing it. I think qigong's well, qigong. I always come back to qigong. It's my favorite. So yeah, that's my choice, my personal choice. Andrea, bring them free. That sounds like a great way to deal with them. Yeah, yeah, it is. Helps with the energy flow, so makes things easier all round. Yolandi, mine is really difficult. Bowl to mix the ingredients and old fizzy pop bottles to store them to build up the fizz. Okay. Yeah, you do get these very simple, what do they call them? I think a lot of people call them prison recipes because you kind of like you see how they make their hooch and stuff in prison. It's just like this basic freaking stuff, you know. It's really cool. Andrea Ilandiamus, I used to make elderflower champagne, but the bottles would explode during hot weather. Ooh. It made walking through the pantry interesting. Yeah, sure. Cthulhu Star Ruby. Star Ruby is a great um, banishing ritual. Yeah. If you don't like the LBRP approach, then yeah, definitely do Star Ruby. It's more of a Greek approach rather than a Hermetic approach. Yolandi, we use old Coke bottles to let it brew. The bottles are designed for that. Yeah, because of plastic. I'm assuming you're talking about plastic bottles anyway. We made the mistake of using an old screw top wine bottle. Big mistake. Yeah. We can always do the basic things. I agree they are important and make you a better and stronger practitioner. Absolutely. Glad you agree. More people need to do it though. It's something I'm finding, you know, a lot of people kind of. I get a lot of messages from people who say, you know, I've been trying to work with the spirit and nothing's happening. And the first thing I ask them is, how much foundational work have you done? And they don't know what I'm talking about. Um, so, you know, this has become a problem, is that too many people have got no idea where to actually start, because of short form content and TikTok and stuff. You know, it's and all of the other stuff gets ignored because it just goes straight to results. You got to do all the foundational work first. It makes things a lot better, a lot safer in the long run as well. Um, Andrea, boom, yeah, that can get challenging. I used to run through the bottles. Trinity, we made homemade honey orange mead in prison once. Cool. Honey. I'm gonna have to try the orange one. Yeah, I'm making a what's it called again? A cider. It's the apple, the basic apple. You add apple to the water, and then add the honey, and then the yeast. Very basic mead at the moment. So I haven't made mead in years, so I thought I'd start with something simple, see if it works. As I said, I've got 3 weeks left before I can bottle it and see what it tastes like, but it's really simple stuff. It's old Afrikaans recipe. We keep things simple. Cool. Cthulhu, so I offered Boone 3 oranges and later found out they were not ripe. That's okay. I didn't do it on purpose, I apologized, and now I can't eat it without getting a scratchy throat. Is Boone messing with me? No. It's probably just the oranges. Um, maybe the had a season or specific batch of oranges or from a particular farm or something like that. I find that some oranges are really yummy and other oranges they do get that kind of scratchy throat and they don't go down very well. But no, it's not. Boone wouldn't be. Boone wouldn't. It's actually when I do an offering of oranges to Boone, it's actually the peels, not the orange themselves. So yeah, I don't even offer the orange. I just offer the orange peels. So you know, um, I don't think that would have an effect at all. Andrea, honey orange mead sounds interesting. That does indeed. Actually, I want to make loads and loads of different meads, but I haven't got the space to put all the bottles. That's the problem. I want to make like method and everything else. Um, Andrea, Cthulhu Boone is too kind to do that, I think. I find Boone to be very kind, very gentle spirit. But Boone kind of um, took me through a particular visionary state where she presented herself as being an aspect or a mask of Hecate. So, maybe my boon is a different experience to other people's boon. I don't know. But yeah, no, I love boon. Cthulhu, never had a problem before, but I did apologize. Good to know. Thank you, Andrea. Richard, no worry, Lee. I would keep your meat safe by me. Okay. I'm sure you would, yeah. The funny thing is the first time I ever made mead, it seriously tasted like jet fuel. It was absolutely disgusting. But I had one friend, for some reason, he loved it. And so he just drank the whole damn stuff. It was disgusting. It was gross. I had to double up on the honey in that recipe to actually get it to taste like mead. So yeah, no, it became a very expensive mead, that did. Mm. Andrea was given some awful oranges. Even the slugs wouldn't eat them. Yeah, you do. You get some really good oranges sometimes, and then every now and again you just get really horrible ones. Biomorca, my body reacts abnormally to honey and tea, even green tea. I've always been able to eat them, but now I suddenly get severe poisoning and my digestive system shuts down. That's strange. That's weird because they're, especially honey, that's very natural healing type of uh, substance, food. Um, I mean, it's so natural. I don't even think it goes off. It doesn't go moldy or anything like that. Yeah, that's very strange. Can't think why your body would suddenly change like that. But anyway, don't know. Andrea Boone is lovely, if a bit risque. Yeah. Cthulhu, I felt a mother presence from Boone. I can't get enough of that feeling. Yeah, absolutely. Um, yeah, love Boone. Elandi, I find the same with lemons. What do you have a bad reaction to lemons? Or I was going to say sometimes they just taste nice and other times they don't. Can't say lemons ever taste nice. Yeah. Anyway, I think I'm going to bring this Covenstead to an end. Oh, good lemons or bad lemons. You actually get two different types of lemons, I found out. The very kind of like the gnarly type and bumpy type of skin. They're actually they're not as sour. You can actually eat them, just normally. Whereas the ones we get with the very smooth kind of skin, those are very, very sour. Um, yeah, there's I think it's actually two different types of strains. I can't remember now, but yeah, lemon's a bit weird. But lemons taste good in water. Oh yeah, I love my lemon water. I actually when I last this past week when I had my throat infection or sore throat, I don't know what it was. I actually found that drinking lemon water was helping it the whole time. So yeah, I was drinking a lot of lemon water. Trinity, everyone have a wonderful day. You too. Thanks for joining, Trinity. Bobby Walker, are there any demons that can be driven away with honey and tea? Maybe my stomach is possessed. That's why. I haven't heard of anything like that. No, sorry. The Fat Muppet. My favourite food is lemons with mayonnaise and shrimp on toast. Interesting. Okay. Not sure I'll be trying that anytime soon, but that's an interesting combination. Um, Andrea, yes, there's a difference between lemons. I Lee read my mind again. There you go. Sorry. Bowenwalker, I like pickled cucumbers in chocolate. Oh, I'm gonna have to try that because I do like pickled cucumbers. Yeah, chocolate. Ooh, that sounds very interesting. Um, I haven't had an awesome day. You too. Thanks for joining, Andrea. They call them ugly lemons, but yeah, because they're very kind of bumpy and gnarly, and the skin's like all over the place, and they're not like shaped properly. They're like really weird, but they actually they taste really good. Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to end today then. Thanks for joining, and I'll see everybody next week. I hope you have a good week, and I'll see you then. Cheers. Bye, Zanka. Bye, Devs. Oh, Devs, you were here. Have a good one. And cheers.